Obviously, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'd love to see him.
It's almost like legacy of like the NFL versus.
But I definitely think that Baker could be a really good player for the Panthers moving forward.
Did I say Oreos?
There's a lot of questions I have about Mahomes. Looks like a kid playing Madden.
Turning point in the game is the 13-second drive.
They play very hard, even though they're terrible.
He's a good pick. For sure. He's going to be a good player. But I can't argue against the Jamar Chase pick.
They made moves saying we're going to win this year, at least get into the playoffs.
I'm going with my guy, Corey Seager. So glad.
What's good, y'all? My name is Austin Drummond, and I play rugby for the University of Notre Dame. And you're listening to the Outsider's Opinion with Austin and Kevin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin. I'm joined by the man. This is actually a video basically coming from a response from our NHL playoff format video. And this is a man that's had this same thought for a while. You just didn't know how to come up with it. And here we are, Austin.
Yeah, this is an idea. I've asked myself this. I've never asked Kevin this question before. But I have in my own head, can a series be close if it's a sweep? And this is NHL based, so we'll base this on the NHL because we did it based on the NHL video. Thank you again for commenting that question because it made us think, and I wanted to ask Kevin in a video format his thoughts about it. But I do think that this is an important question because I think there's a lot of examples of series being quote unquote close, but being a sweep. So Kevin, I'll let you start out and just answer the prompt. Can a series be close even if it is a 4-0 sweep?
Yeah, so shout out Daniel Smith. He's the guy that commented on this. So I just wanted to figure that out. I'm going to say no because there's no real hope for the other team to win if it's like 3-0. I know things can happen, but to me it's if it's 2-2, like, oh, they can really come back from this. They can do it. I think it just, if it's a sweep, to me, it just goes to that other team just knew when it needed to get that win. It knew what to do. So to me, it's like
I think that's a fair point. I can see the argument for why it could be interesting, entertaining. But as a fan of a team that has been swept and been swept close before, it doesn't feel close. It feels like every game is just it hurts worse. We lose close, we lose close, we lose close. And then we lose close again. While it's entertaining for the fans who do not care who wins, and every game's close, so you won an overtime game, sure. But for a series that's a 4-0 sweep, no matter how close it is, it's really hard for you as a fan of a team that's being swept. Or if you're the team winning the games, it doesn't feel like the series is close because you're winning every game.
Yeah, and as a fan or analyst, like, is this team on the same level? And I'd say no, because it's just a gut punch. They know when to do it. They know when, okay, we need a goal here, we can get it. It's
I mean, you could look
like,
back to Dallas last year when they were getting 3-0 by Vegas, but they didn't end up getting swept. So you could say that it was close because it ended up as a Game 6 win for Vegas. But you go back to Vegas in the year, their first season, they ended up sweeping the Kings in the first round. And this is a series people go to and it's close because every game was decided by one goal. Vegas won 1-0, then won 2-1, then won 3-2, then won 1-0. And one of the best playoff performances ever by a goalie was by Jonathan Quick, the loser of that series. However, they still lost, and it showed a glaring weakness in their offense. So you will see problems with the team, even though they lost every game by one goal. I think this is kind of what you're referring to, Daniel, in the comment. Maybe not every game goes to overtime, but every game being a one-goal deficit, and they get swept. I think this may be one of the only times in NHL history that all four games in a sweep were decided by one goal. But it still felt like Vegas was the better team during that series as I watched it. It seemed like Vegas's offense was better, even if it was just one goal better, and that Vegas team ended up going to the Cup. So it proved that they were a much better team.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is I think it's a great question by Daniel, and it's something to where, like, it can be entertaining. Like, it's not a blowout, but to me, it's just like,
as if you're a Kings fan, though, that it feels like a sweep or worse. Again, when you were
it's just inevitable. That's what it feels like.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. The goal of any game is to win it. not win it by 50, just to win the game. And so as a fan, when you're up 3-0, that game 4 doesn't feel that the stakes aren't as high for you if you're a fan of the team that's winning. And while it is maybe another entertaining game, a sweep, I don't believe, I agree with Kevin here, can't be close. It's a sweep. It's a sweep. If you get swept, it doesn't necessarily mean like two teams that are relatively close in skill can sweep each other. But during that series, the better team will always win. And in a 7-game series, that's not necessarily always true because a team could have a lot of good games that they ended up losing. While and in a 7-game series, if a series goes 7, that 7th game could just be a fluke game. But if you lose 4 straight, they're not 4 straight fluke games. That's not how that works. A fluke's a one-off. So another series I think was relatively close, and this is going to NBA. I said I would bring up other examples. Was the Cavs in 2007 versus the Spurs. This was LeBron's first finals appearance in that series. Like I said, they did get swept, but they lost by 9, 11, and then 3, and then 1. So the last 2 games of the series in Cleveland, the Cavs lost by 3 points and 1 point. Those are not big losses. People always bring up that Cavs team as one of the worst finals teams ever. And LeBron ended up in that series shooting 38%. Let me fact check. He shot, I was wrong, 35.6% from the field and 20% from 3. And while he did average 22, 7, and 7, he did hinder his team shooting so poorly from the field. And it was, I guess, Drew Gooden was their best contributor besides LeBron. And while that may not be the greatest thing you want to hear as a Cavs fan, a lot of those games were close. And the defense of the Cavs was good that series, but you're still swept. And it's still not close, even if the last 2 games, like I said, are decided by 3 and 1 point in Cleveland. But you would say that if Cleveland had won both of those games, right, in Cleveland, it's a whole new series. But that's not obviously what happened, and I think the better team obviously won.
Yeah, to me, you talked about earlier, 4 straight wins. To me, that's a level of like you dominated that team a little bit because you're just, no matter what, you're getting a win. But compared to a 1-1 series, 2-2, it's up for grabs. And it's all, if you're tied 2-2, you only need 2 wins. You only need 2 wins out of 3. That's a lot easier than getting 4 wins out of 7. If that makes sense, that math. Because it's right there. Or if we're in a game 6 and it's going into overtime, it's just one thing. It's just one game to win it and you're good. That's my view of it. If a team's up 2-0, pretty like I dealt with it with the Stars. I was like just gutted during game 3. I was on edge the entire time. So
yeah, I think another way to mention this is if you remember going back, I mentioned how a 7-game series can be kind of fluky. Bruins versus Panthers last year, when the Bruins had the best regular season ever, they had a better goal difference in that series that they lost in 7. But you can't possibly have a worse goal difference and win the series if you sweep a team. You will always be better in every game when you win those. It's not every close game's won by the Panthers and all the blowouts are by the Bruins. So Bruins just lose all the games that are really tight, the games that they're tied on, and you don't know who won the game. It always went the Panthers' way. But if that happens 4 straight times, the better team just won the series.
Yeah.
But I will say again, those games can be entertaining. They can be fun to watch. I still remember again that Kings series back in 2018. Every game was decided by 1 goal. So that's an entertaining series to watch because I was not really rooting for Vegas or the Kings. But if that happened to the Bruins or if that happened to obviously your Stars, I feel like it feels like a sweep. It doesn't feel close.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my gosh, this team just has another gear and they can't get to it. It's inevitable. But really appreciate the question, and it's a good question. So this is just how we feel about it. But let us know in the comments, and I'll toss this over to you to close it out, Austin.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Do you agree with us, or do you think a sweep can be close? Please catch us in our next video.